Hey all, JTC here, and welcome back to another user-submitted gameplay review. Although this review is going to be different from the ones I've done in the past. After some reflection and some consideration about how I've been doing gameplay reviews thus far, I've come to the conclusion that I could be doing better with these. So I've decided to rework how I do them and present them in a different format. I feel like with this new format, I'm going to be able to offer much more helpful information in a much more concise way that, in essence, is going to result in a better viewing experience and a better learning experience overall. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. But for now, what we're going to do is we're actually going to stop with the gameplay, and we're going to kind of take a step back and look at the build that is being run. First off, thank you to Bolasagi Cereal for submitting your gameplay for review. And let's go ahead and jump into exactly what he's running. So as you can see, he's playing Unchained on Legend, using Fire Sword and Coruscation Staff, and these are the talents that he's running. Now, I have already actually gone through the gameplay, and I have already seen how he's played, and I've seen the outcome, and I've seen things in the future, and I do have a couple of comments to make about that, but first, let's just kind of look at the actual build you're running. So you're running Fire Sword and Coruscation Staff, which immediately raises the red flag of, well, I don't have any kind of range to deal with any kind of specials. And that is true, you don't have that, but you are trading that lack of range for some pretty powerful close quarters. Coruscation left click and right click offers some insane horde DPS and unarmored DPS. And the Fire Sword is just very, very, very good for crowd control and kind of spreading that damage out through dots as well. So you do have a very good defensive build going on, although sometimes you might run into some issues with your offensive build. And so just looking at the talents here, Stagger with Fire Swords, very normal, nothing new there. Abandon and Bomb Bomb are very normal picks on Unchained, nothing to talk about there. Enhanced Power is a little interesting, I would say, considering you tended to favor your Fire Sword more than your Staff a lot of the times. So, Enhanced Power was interesting to see. Outburst, I can see you're going for more of a defensive play rather than an offensive play with Frenzied Flame, which I can appreciate, for sure. And then the only one that I really wanted to give any sort of attention to, or extended attention to, I should say, is Numb to Pain. Numb to Pain kind of encourages you to take more of an active role in venting, especially when you're kind of venting in dangerous situations, you know, like in the face of a horde, which you never really did. You kind of took the more safe route when it came to venting, waiting until you were either out of a horde or kind of far enough away from the horde. You didn't really do what I call aggressive venting, which is casting rapidly until you're at max overcharge, venting in the middle of a horde, even though they're directly in your face, and then continuing to use your staff. You never really did that, so you never really got any Numb to Pain value. So with that, I would recommend looking more at like Conduit or Dissipate instead for your build, especially if you're going to do this again. Dissipate, I would say, is probably her best option because just 50% block cost reduction is huge to begin with. And it's also very, very easy to drain your overcharge by just taking an overhead from a Chaos Warrior. So this situation right here really just showcases the massive weakness that your build has. And this is something that when you're going into any true solo game, you need to understand what massive flaw or weakness your build is going to have. Because remember, true solo is just that. You are by yourself with no other team to help you, so you have to cover for all aspects. And in this case, you lack range, which right here, you have a Rattling firing at you from the left, which is pinning you down in this spot, but then you have a Rattling come up directly in front of you and immediately open fire. And frankly, the only reason you're alive right now is because you had this bomb right here, which you do take out and you immediately throw and you kill this Rattling gunner, and you're able to save yourself. However, if you didn't have that bomb, you would have been fucked. Like, just bottom line, you would have died from that. And that's not necessarily your fault. There's nothing you could have really done in that situation had you not had that bomb. But that also really highlights the entire idea of true solo in some cases, especially if you're playing the harder difficulties, i.e. Legend and Cataclysm. At the end of the day, it's partially RNG. I've always been the advocate that true solo on Legend is 50% skill, 50% luck. Maybe more like 60% skill, 40% luck. Because there are some runs you're going to have as true solo where it's going to feel like the easiest run in the universe because you just have really, really lucky spawns with barely any specials, no bosses, maybe a patrol, and then you might turn around and have one of the hardest true solo matches of your life. And honestly, it just depends on how the AI director feels. So the best way to prepare for this situation is to first just understand you're going to get sometimes these situations where you're just going to be screwed if you don't have the correct supply to deal with it. And B, understand the weakness that your build has before going in and try to plan situations around that weakness. So right here, the big tip I would give you specifically for Unchained is be ready to ult when you overheat. Because I'm going to play this clip again. Pay attention to your health bar after you overheat. Just pay attention real quickly. You overheat about right here. Look how much health you lost. You took a little bit of damage, which got rid of this much. And then from about here to here... ish. Of course, there's a little bit of wiggle room there. This was just you simply not reacting in time to ult and save yourself. If you had been prepared to ult, you probably would have cut down the HP loss from here to probably like over here, I would say. And sometimes when you take a bunch of damage, you need to have a really lightning fast reaction time in order to save yourself from going down, because sometimes all it takes is 1 second for you to drop from, like, you know, here all the way down to dead. But if you're able to react just a split second before, you might be able to save yourself and keep yourself alive at here, and then which would save yourself. So yeah, especially in those situations where you're surrounded and you're fully expecting yourself to overheat, have your finger on the F key and be ready to ult. So right here, you actually come into a really good situation. You find a loot rat, you kill him dead, and you get a healing potion right here. You also got a strength potion, but you pick that up, which I don't think is a bad idea. But right here, you find a healing potion, and your first thought is, hey, I get a free healing potion, so let me just go ahead and consume my current one to give myself a free heal. Actually, I would say in this situation, don't drink your healing potion. Keep it and save this one here. Why? Because this essentially gives you a free heal directly before the boss. Now, you might be saying, well, JTC, you already get some free healing before the boss. And I would say you're right, but if you're able to use the skip to skip that section, you not only A, save some time, but B, you save yourself getting assaulted by those Skaven that are dropping on top of that healing, and you're able to prevent yourself from taking unnecessary damage. I know you don't in this game, you don't take the shortcut, but I will point it out later so you know what I'm talking about. I just wanted to quickly say that this was a really good use of your potion. If you didn't use it, it would have gone to waste, so good use. So I really, really like what you do with the Warp Fire Thrower here. So obviously, Warp Fire Throwers as Unchained is one of your biggest problems that you're going to face, especially when you lack any kind of ranged weaponry. Now, knowing that, what you do is you proceed to kind of dance around this little area. Let me see if I can get a better view of it right here. And you kind of play line of sight chicken with this Warp Fire Thrower. As he moves down, you continue circling around to prevent him from being able to blast you with his fire because he doesn't have line of sight to you. And for those that don't know how the AI works in this game, the ranged AI at least, if they don't have a line of sight to you, they proceed to take the shortest path possible in order to get to you. Now, you knew this, and you purposefully kind of danced around this rock, trying to pepper this Warp Fire Thrower, leading him on like a little wild goose chase until you could finally get a killing blow. And that was really good of you, so good job on you for that. So here I'm just going to say, against a super armor of any kind, Chaos Warriors bosses, when you're using Conflagration Staff, or not Conflagration, Coruscation Staff, you should be using the right click, the Magma Pools. That, exactly. You should be using that because that's going to do far more damage than you spamming Fire Sword or left click against them. And kind of sticking to this theme of the right click, spamming the right click attack rather than fully charging it allows you to get a lot more DPS in. Just with how the ticks of firework for the Coruscation Staff, spamming right click and putting like 3 or 4 light magma pools down causes far more DPS, or it outputs a lot more DPS than 1 or 2 fully charged attacks. Plus, when you sit there and spam it, it buys yourself a little bit of time to kind of vent a little bit and put even more pulls down before the horde gets to you. So right here, you're kind of switching between the light 1 finger roll, or the heavy 1 finger roll, and the heavy 1, heavy 2 combo. And you should honestly be sticking with only one of them, depending on what you want. So, for reference, Fire Sword has 2 kind of main attack patterns with the heavy attacks. There is heavy, block cancel, heavy, which is really, really good for horde DPS. I'm just going to do H DPS. This is where Sienna only attacks with her fingers. She'll do the little finger swipe and then block, and then she'll spam the finger swipe. That doesn't do as much outright DPS, but it applies a dot, and it has really, really high stagger. That attack also actually has infinite cleave against unarmored enemies. So it's really, really good to spam against hordes, and you should be using that when you just want to keep hordes staggered and let the dots deal the work. The other one is just simple. It's heavy 1, heavy 2. The finger sweep with the sword slap. Heavy 1, heavy 2. And that is really good for single target DPS. So single DPS. So depending on the situation that you're in, you want to choose, okay, do I either want this one? Do I want attack pattern 1 or attack pattern 2? If you're fighting if you're fighting just like horde, I would recommend attack pattern 1. If you're fighting a horde of like either just like elites or mixed horde and elites, then I would recommend attack pattern 2. So for this one, we're actually going to kind of take a look at this patrol right here and keep a note in our minds, okay, there's a patrol in this situation. And we're going to fast forward to about 15 minutes. And we're going to kind of, I don't know if the video is actually going to load, but we're going to see, okay, we're fighting here. We're kind of stuck in the situation. However, the horde's coming at us through this direction right here. But remember, that patrol off to the left is still there. A really quick crash course, there are 3 different patrol marching patterns that can take place. 1, a patrol spawns at point 1, moves to point 2, and then despawns. 2, they spawn at point 1, they move to point 2, and then they continue moving back and forth from point 1 to point 2. Or 3, they spawn at point 1, and they just do a massive circle. These are the 3 patrol marching pattern options that you're going to find in the game. And basically, any other marching pattern than 1 is going to cause a problem. So in this situation, you should say to yourself, okay, there's a horde coming at me from this way. However, there is a chance the patrol back here is going to loop back around and might catch me off guard in an awful situation. And if you kind of sit here and you listen, I don't know, right here, you hear them. They're coming back. So, of course, now at this point, you start making your way up here, which is really good because back here, the patrol actually never marches. The patrol will never get back here unless you specifically aggro them and pull them back here. But frankly, you should have moved in this situation a lot sooner. You should have tried to fight your way up here a lot sooner because let's say the patrol bugged and became silent. You wouldn't have heard them. And there is a pretty good chance you would have aggroed them, and then you would have had a really shit situation on your hands. So when you're kind of fighting around patrol marching patterns and you know there's a patrol up, keep that in the back of your mind and make sure to push if you can. And you also just want to keep a steady pace going forward whenever you're playing true solo anyway, because the longer you linger and the more you don't move, the more specials spawn, the more hordes will spawn, the more you get worn down, the more resources you use until eventually you'll wipe. This entire fight is just a reminder to use the right click against super armor. If you would just spammed magma pulls at his feet and kept him into the magma pulls to the best of your ability, you would have shredded this boss 10 times faster. So right here is where the skip would normally happen, but it appears as if you skipped the skip. I'm not sure if you skipped it because you didn't want to take it or if you don't know about it, but if we just go back here, I can point it out real quickly. So this skip is a pretty minute skip. It doesn't skip a massive amount, but it is still helpful in the moment for a couple of reasons. So the skip that I'm talking about is if you walk up this pipe, you'll be able to kind of wedge yourself right here, and then you can jump onto this little bullet-looking thing, and then you can jump from the bullet-looking thing on top of the actual platform right here, and then walk all the way to the skitter gate. Now, it's a lot more helpful in true solo because it, A, saves time, because you don't have to go all the way around and then walk all the way around and then up and then drop, and B, it helps you save health in some cases because, remember, when you're going the normal way, you have to, all the Skaven and whatnot are dropping from up here down on top of you, waterfalling, so it can cause some issues, especially if you're being sandwiched in that area. So taking this route in this specific case would have been a lot better because you already had the healing in the skitter gate. So you already had healing over there. So if you would have taken the skip, it would have saved you a little bit of time, and it would have prevented you from getting sandwiched. I just want to say that you didn't get sandwiched in this run, but it's better safe to be sorry. Alright, so here a couple of things happened. First, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't expect you to win this fight because this fight is just not fun as Unchained, especially after you kill Death Rattler and Raskinit starts casting all of those spells at you. It just gets really irritating and really hard to stay alive, so I'm not surprised you wiped, but you wiped for a different reason, I would say. So if we go back, let's just one more time watch what happened. And watch how you wiped. See if you notice anything. All right, so first thing to notice is that you're trying to control the horde when you eat a hit. And right here, what you do is you do a good thing. You immediately block, but if you realize what happens after that is that you immediately go for another swing. Now remember, when I say, or in one of my older videos, I would always say the best part, or the thing about Vermintide is you want to get to the point where you're controlling the horde and the horde isn't controlling you, and the easiest way for the horde to get control of you is to throw off your attack patterns. And that's exactly what happened here. You were swinging at them, minding your own business, you yourself got hit, and that just completely threw you off. What should have happened right here is you should have continued blocking, which you did. You should have continued blocking, you should have pushed these guys a few times to kind of reset their attack pattern, and then continued your swipes. That would have ensured that, sure, that would have taken a little bit more time, but that would have ensured you wouldn't have taken any hits. By trying to rush back into the attack pattern, you ended up taking a lot more hits than necessary, which ended up throwing you overboard and killing you. However, there is one more thing that I want to point out. It is super, super fast. Right here. There is literally a split second in which you could have ulted to save yourself. This is why I say whenever, once more, be quick on the ult, but another thing, when you're playing Unchained, and you overheat, even if you don't think you're going to do it, you want to be spamming that F key. You want to be spamming this as fast as you can. It's also the same thing that I say if you're down and someone's getting you up and you have a movement ability or shout ability or any kind of teleport ability, you want to be spamming that ultimate key as fast as you can to get that ultimate off as soon as you can. And right here, if you had been spamming the F key, there is a small chance you would have actually gotten that ult off and saved yourself, and you would not have wiped. So that's the last thing I have to say about this. If you're overheating as Unchained, or if you're down at all and someone's getting you up, either way, spam the ultimate key. But yeah, that is going to be the end of this gameplay review. Thank you once more to Bowl of Soggy Cereal for submitting your gameplay for review. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this new kind of way of doing it is a lot more helpful for everyone. I hope it's a lot more helpful for the person who submitted the gameplay review as well, and I hope it makes for a much more enjoyable viewing experience. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, subscribe for more Vermintide content in the future, and if you're interested in having your gameplay reviewed, make sure to join the Discord and check out the gameplay review submission channel. See y'all!